Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Fintechkibaatdilse. Today we have with us Pratekk Agarwal, who has had an interesting journey in the fintech domain across industries, and we would be excited to hear what he has to say and how he has reached where he is. A brief introduction about Pratekk. I think Pratekk, you can take it over and give us a brief background about what you have done and a small introduction after.
Sure. Thanks, Shreyas and Sagarika. It's a pleasure to come online with you, right? And to give you a quick background, I've spent about 18 odd years in the industry, and last 12 odd years have been in the finance and fintech, right? And have changed multiple roles, built multiple companies, been a part of uh, growth stage companies like Bajaj Finance, Fullerton, Indostar Capital, FT Cash, and last was BharatPe. And I'm currently pursuing something very interesting, which is investments and advisory roles with fintech startups. So I invest, work with them, and help them grow. So yeah, I think it's been a complete 360 degrees
Interesting.
experience.
Really interesting. So we'd love to know more about your journey. मतलब आप कहाँ से शुरू किया? Where did you start from? And I think you have had multiple career pivots, and you'd be very interested to know कि how did you go through all of that? कैसे? What were your thought processes? And क्या सोचा आपने to go through all of that to make those decisions?
So I think it's been a very interesting journey, Shreyas. Right? What I started with, I remember, I think it was around 1999 or 2001 sometime, right? I used to do all sales jobs, door to door, selling SIM cards, mobile phones, along with my college and things. And my first actual job where I got a paycheck was 2,500 rupees, I think, in 2001. And
Okay.
since then, and I actually paid 10,000 rupees for the training also, right?
मतलब
So
4 months तो
literally,
आपके 4 months की pay तो आपकी इसमें चली गई.
yeah, exactly. And that was like 3 months actually, right? Because pehle 2 mahine it was 2,500, and third month it was 5,000 rupees, and the
Oh,
fourth month
okay.
onwards it was 10,000, right? So 3 months of, but it was interesting, right? I think it was an investment from my side. So it's been a very interesting and adventurous journey, I would say, right? Very very exciting journey, and right from after engineering, I took up coding job, did that for 2 months, did not really like the coding thing where you write codes, you wait for the computer to respond, and then again
Right,
keep
right.
switching and keep haggling around with the computer. So that's not something which I really enjoyed, right? And what I enjoyed was talking to people, right? Understanding them, ecosystem. So I think I just quit that after engineering, and moved to sales. And that was 2001, I guess, sometime, where call centers were the best paying jobs, right? from
Right.
a from a middle class family. So just wanted to start up something very quick. So started with call centers, did all sorts of odd jobs, and that was I think my first break in the financial services, after a couple of telecom jobs and technology jobs in Wipro, Idea, Vodafone. The first job in Fullerton was the first interaction with the financial services company. So been there, started around 2008 with Fullerton India. Did that for about 2.5-3 years. Changed 2-3 roles there. It was the start of digital, where I started at Fullerton, the digital business, and then moved to Bajaj Finance. Spent about 3.5 years in agri company, which is Syngenta.
Engineering के बाद what makes people switch from engineering from a tech side to completely, जैसे आपने तो पूरा sales कर दिया. I've seen people moving to product, and I've seen people move into business analyst roles, non-coding jobs, but completely आप पूरा at the opposite end of the spectrum आप sales पे आ गए. So what was the thought process? आपने जो बताया, one of the things.
Engineering is like a commitment of 4 years, right? Whereas a BCom guy is kind of enjoying having, he interacts more with the ecosystem, then he interacts more within the college, right? So an engineer is somebody who's committed. I mean, usko files complete करनी पड़ती है, उसको 4 साल के लिए committed होना पड़ता है, रोज के lectures हैं, 10 subjects. So I think it's not his that's what happened with me. My father wanted me to do engineering, and that's why I went into it. Right? I never wanted
Right,
to
right.
be an engineer, but
Acha.
yeah, that's how. So I think जो मेरे साथ हो रहा है शायद probably most of them also experience the same.
Got it. Got it.
Pratik,
So,
uh, while listening to you, I just realized that you were actually in the right place at the right time, considering the period that you work for in a particular sector, right? So,
Yes.
how difficult was it for you to kind of switch verticals, because you have worked in quite a lot of, so from being a coding, sales, and finance, how difficult was it to switch the verticals for you?
So I think that's a very interesting question, Sagarika. What I remember now is that I used to be always connected with the people around, right? I always had friend circle who were much better, much experienced, and and smarter than me, right? And I always kind of connected with the ecosystem of what's happening around, what's the in thing. I remember in 1999, I think I used to carry a pager, right? That Max pager when I used to go to probably my coaching classes or something, right? So I think
mhm.
what I'm trying to say is that I was the first guy to actually have a pager also. I was the first guy to get a mobile phone because I was working. I had a mobile phone also, 8110, which was like a banana, right? Costing
वो
about
आधे किलो वाला.
$32,000. I sold SIM cards when it was about 32 rupees a minute, right? So I think I was always connected with the in thing what was happening around. And 2001 happened where the call centers were the best paying jobs, right? I mean, I remember you could earn thrice as salary in call centers, right, where you did not earn anywhere. And you had a free training, you had the American accent trainer, you had probably an Australian trainer, you understood various things what was happening around the world, right? So I think what really got me to switch verticals, that was an outcome. What got me into it was the hunger, the curiousness, the inquisitiveness of knowing, learning from people around with me, from friends, from their fathers, from everybody around, right? And then investing yourself and not really doing what people are doing, right? I mean, what my fellow friends were doing, I was just completely ulta, right? So I think that was interesting, and that got me to switch jobs much faster. At one point in time, as we speak, I mean, it would be, I don't want anybody to do it, but as we speak, I think in last 18-19 years, I have changed like 10 to 12 jobs, and probably 18-20 bosses maybe, so and that is entirely around what got excited that moment to me, right? Some boss told me a great story, right? Somebody showed me a bigger picture. Somebody showed me that, I could do something better than what I was doing. So I think I just followed my instincts, just followed how things started shaping up.
Correct.
So, how many verticals have you switched so far? कितनी industries या verticals आपने total change किए?
So I started, door-to-door sales, right? I've done that. I've done call centers. I've done pre-sales for Wipro Technologies, right? Managing the Europe and, multiple other countries. Then I have done customer service, experience, project management, RBI regulation, compliance, sales, go-to-market strategy at Syngenta, loyalty program, which is one of the best in agri business, right? Business roles in, in IndoStar, product roles in IndoStar, right? Business role in FT Cash, BharatPe, and now an advisor, an investor.
I lost the count.
Yeah, I lost the count, seriously.
Okay, so Pratik, how do you keep upgrading yourself while you shift from industry to industry?
I think it goes back to the same, that it was curiousness. It was about that there is so much of Gyan which is happening around, right? And how much can you, absorb? How much can you learn out of it, right? And that out of that movie, I think there was what, Three Idiots, right? It said that Gyan bat raha hai, ab jitna batorna chahe bator lo, right? I think I was one of those guys who just wanted to experience and didn't know what to do out of my life, frankly speaking, right? So whatever came my way, whatever the best possible option that particular time, I took that. And what got me excited was that I think I looked up to the leaders, right? And I saw very closely, I observed them very closely as to how they behave differently and how they lead, how they build companies, right? And their vision got me really excited. So I always watched all my leaders, right? I mean, to name a few, it's Rajiv Jain, Devang Modi from Bajaj Finance, right? Kumar Dutta in Syngenta. You have Prashant Joshi from Indostar. So the way these guys build the businesses, the way they conducted reviews, the way they thought about approaching the business problem, right, and people, right, got interested, and I started kind of absorbing certain things from there, and that got me to upgrade. That अगर मुझे वैसा कुछ करना है, तो I need to kind of upgrade myself. So I enroll myself, probably if I didn't know Excel, enroll myself to an Excel class, or joined a public speaking class, or invested in probably a coffee meetup kind of models, right? I have about 4 meetings a week on coffee mugs, on lunch clubs, right? Knowing people, and I think networking is something which got me exposed to more things, and this has worked for me. I mean, I would say this is not something which would work with everybody, but this is something which I can share with you that this worked for me, right? Networking, and being a doer more than a strategist. So if I got excited about something, if something really convinced me, I learned that, I did that myself, and then I gave it to somebody else to do it when it was BAU. Right? What I see most of the times is that people just want to give it out to somebody. If you have an MIS guy, if you have an analyst, you just give it out and let the people do. You don't get your hands dirty. I think I always wanted to get my hands dirty. That was the love for what I wanted to do.
Right. Okay, so coming to a specific sector, that I think you have created one of the major impacts in digital lending. Looking at that piece, and I think you have worked quite a bit in the rural lending piece. So, like, what is your experience with that piece in and digitizing the lending piece for rural India?
So that is very exciting, right? I mean, when I spent time at Fullerton India, right? Fullerton India was the entire ecosystem which was below 700 CIBIL or 650 CIBIL, right? You can imagine 850 branches catering to rural, right? Then you move to Bajaj Finance, which is 725 or 750 CIBIL plus, right? Nothing below that. So the class of customer segment is completely different. And after Bajaj, when I moved to Syngenta, where I used to work with about 40 lakh farmers, about 10 lakh retailers, and 5,000 distributors, and 3,500 crore of business, right? If you see, the one side is completely, below a certain threshold of CIBIL. One side is completely above, which is more the creamy layer. And then you get knowing how the rural economy works, right? And this entire three things actually gave a kick in terms of that we are just getting started, right? We have not even scratched the surface so far, right? When I visited in my Syngenta days, these multiple retailers and farmers, and we used to ride onto USSD, right? And there are so many companies who are helping these farmers get to know what is the weather like, what is the schedule of the when they sow, when they reap, what crop protection to apply, right? This ecosystem gave me a complete understanding of digital lending, that what we see in urban is a fraction of it, right? And the real world is still to be tapped, right? And probably once you understand this thing, you understand probably the future is really, really huge. We can't even think of, right? And in current, as we speak also, we talk about fintech, we talk about, every day some new fintech has raised money, new fintechs are doing some 100 crores of dispersals, etc., etc., but that is not even contributing to more than 5% of the overall lending, to say digital lending or lending, right? 95% is still done in the uh, older ways, or the standard ways, by banks, NBFCs,
Right.
microfinance institutions. So I think it's more, I would say that we are just getting started. There is a lot of excitement, right? People are kicked about it, but we are not making a dent yet in the economy. We are not contributing
Bilkul.
significantly to this. At the same time, the speed at which fintech is moving, or digital lending is moving, I think the regulator is moving a bit slower than that, right? Uh, Regulator is also, I won't say that regulator is not on the right path. I think regulator is also thinking the right way. However, regulator is thinking more on the mass, because India is 135 crores. Anything you do here and there, right, a lot of people get
Mm-hmm.
affected, right? So I think we are moving in the right direction. The pace might be different, but probably in next 12 to 18 months things might get somewhere, where the expectation and the delivery and the regulation would meet the overall digital lending requirements so far.
Got it. So digital lending की जब बात करते हैं, especially when we talk about rural India, what is the possibility that excites you the most? What is one thing that is out of the haystack, out of the normal stack of things that's happening, that excites you the most in digital lending for the rural India?
So I think, see, how many people have bureau, right? I mean, for lending so far, in traditional ways of lending, bureau has been the core input, right?
Hmm.
Only 25% have bureau scores, or 35% have a score, but they have either taking one consumer durable loan from Bajaj or somewhere, which just got them a score, right, which is happened in last 7 to 8 years.
Right.
um, so you have very minimum or very less data to even underwrite anybody, right? And past 4 years we have started getting into the payments ecosystem, right? We have started distributing bank accounts. There is a digital trail of money. There is a bureau which is getting enhanced day by day. There are 3 to 4 bureaus which are core, right? There are alternative data sets, right, out of your utilities or your mobile phone data or your prepaid data. All of that is just getting started, or rather it's somewhere in the phase of building, right? The framework is getting
Hmm.
built. So I think when I look at all of these things will contribute in next 2 years to really underwrite a person, and to start taking credit exposures on the guys who do not have any footprint. When I go back 12 years back, right, in Fullerton, we used to sit down, or the credit managers used to sit down with the same MSME and actually note down how many receipts he had, right? At a distance, he used to note down that what is the sale he has done today, right?
Hmm.
And those were the underwriting criteria. There was no Aadhaar, there was no Khata book, there was no OK Credit. Today,
Right.
everything is changed, right? So lending to all of these guys has become so simple, because you have a QR code transaction, you have a banking transactions, you have a bank account, the guy carries a smartphone with so much of data. So I think digital lending for rural India is the next biggest thing going forward. The base of it is getting started, is getting built with all the companies like Paytm and PhonePe and multiple SFBs. So I think the future is very bright.
Great, good to know that. So when we're talking about this, I noticed that you go back to various parts of your career a lot. Refer things from that. That actually reminded me of something that I strongly believe in. Right, you do what your intuition tells you, and then when you look back at a certain point of time, you're able to connect the dots and figure out why that thing happened at that point of time. So, do you? I mean, are you able to relate to that? Does that make sense for you when you at this point when you look back and are you able to connect the dots कि यार ये तो ऐसे हुआ था लेकिन वो टाइम पे you had no idea कि why did this happen or that mood didn't make sense at that time?
Uh, I think I really don't care whether the decision was right or wrong. If I have taken that decision, I have taken it, right? And I take full responsibility of it. So I never go back and say, "यार better करा होता या कुछ." I think that was just the right time when I did, and that was the right time when I took those decisions or something, and that would have been right because you would have talked to people, you would have connected with your believers, and all of those things. So I think when I connect in the hindsight, I think I was very skeptical of the approach which I took in my career, right? Those days, and I think 6-7 years back I was very skeptical that whether I have taken the right decisions or no. But today when I see, right, I see that I have somewhere had a trend in my career, in my life, right? I have never been a 0 to 1 guy, right? I never liked the 0 to 1, which is typically when I told you about the coding thing, right? I think somewhere I left everything which was 0 to 1, or probably even you could say 1 to 5, right? I was always a scale up guy. It was in my mind when I entered probably a Fullerton India, it was 250 branches. When I entered Bajaj Finance, it was about 5,000 crores, right? We started in a shed still then, right? When I entered Indostar, the license had already come in. When Syngenta, so I think I was more of a, I enter the ecosystem when it's 5, right? And I am a scale-up guy who takes the company from 5 to 500. I need to have certain data points in place. I am not a creative or an innovative guy, right? If you have 10 ingredients, I can make the best recipe out of it, or I can suggest to you, right? So I think if I look back, and hence I probably took this decision in June last year when I decided to move on from BharatPe and said that I think I'm a scale-up guy. I don't want to build one company, but now maybe what is getting more intrigued and exciting is can I do the same thing, not with one company but with probably 15-20 companies, right? And I think that was the right decision, right? I had no idea last June also what I will be doing, right? I just made a few investments, and I used to spend time on the weekends with the founders, and I said that this is really exciting. You get to understand so much in the ecosystem, right? You're talking to 3 different founders from payments, from insurance, from agri-tech, something of that sort, right? And why can't you do it? So I think when I look at it, most of the people should look at certain trends, right, in their lives. What has not gone well, what has gone well. If you know what has gone well, then try to probably make it mass, or scale it up, or do that. I think that is the best thing what has worked for me.
So, Pratekk, very interesting point on making decisions. I think, considering the movement that you've had in your career, you've made a lot of tough decisions that, generic people usually, just
never would do it. Never
exactly,
would do it.
Right? And I have seen it in my own family that people have been working in one company since so many years, and now when they have to move, or they see no growth anymore, they keep thinking about it. I feel that's more of a procrastination that they do sitting in their comfort zone. But how do you exactly manage to get out of apart from the curiosity part that you have mentioned, but what do you give it a lot of thought before taking the decisions, or maybe like you said, you did not know in last June what you would be doing one year from now. So does that play an important part in you making your decisions?
I think when I look back, right, I just take decisions what feels right to me, right? I will ask everybody, but I will do what what I believe that I will be owning that decision, right? So karo, I mean, pucho sabse, but karo man ki. Right, so that has been the core. Second is that I think you have to keep changing your gears as you move, right? Maybe what has also worked is that I am not the same what I was 1 year back. I'm not the same what I was 4 years back, right? And I have kept changing my gears, right? I have kept updating. If you talk to somebody probably 10 years back, I was the most aggressive guy, right? I have had showdowns, right, on the floor and everything, right? If you see, I'm much more timid when I even do not agree to probably a lot of things, right? I just give it some time. I take back, right? So I think you have to keep changing gears. You have to keep changing gears as per the terrain, right? And when I took these decisions, I just said to one thing that if I'm thinking right about either a founder or a startup or my own piece, or or the product I'm designing is definitely solving a customer's problem, right? It will fall in place. So if you have some very basic rules set, right, and you're not making up something, right, I think what will turn out to be will be much better than something which you have just made it up.
So, Pratik, I think your journey has been quite interesting, and the last big thing that you saw was maybe BharatPe moving from 40 million to 500 million. What was that journey like, and where, I mean, since you have been a part of such a huge journey, we see BharatPe right now, and we feel really proud about where fintech is going, right? So, what are your views on the growth journey of BharatPe and fintech in general in India?
So I think BharatPe has been very exciting, right? BharatPe is kind of like a machine, right? It's a factory, right? Where you decide a product, and if you're convinced about the product, you deliver. Literally, the team is there to deliver it the next day, right? And the similar things I've seen with multiple other companies who have scaled up, and the end thing is only the traction. Nothing else matters. I mean, the money will follow you if you are able to show the numbers, if you're able to show the traction, right? So I think valuation is one thing, and scalability and sustainability is another thing. So I think lot of fintechs are getting the great valuations, and they are starting off well, but I feel that the future lies in creating sustainable businesses, right? Future lies in
Mm-hmm.
creating profitable businesses, and especially when it comes to digital payments, digital lending, and digital lending, something like not where you are wiring the money digitally and you expect everything to come digitally. No, that's not going to happen, right? You can expect 85% of money to come back digitally, but the remaining 15% is where it matters the most, right? How are you able to get that money back, either through a collections, you have a collections
Mm-hmm.
culture, so I think what I've learned in Bajaj also, it's the collections first approach, right? I mean, wherever I have done my business, as where I own the business, right, I hire the collections guy first before I hire the sales guy in that area. So I think that culture has to be built up, and people are still not um, you know uh, understanding that reality. So I think the future is going to be different. There is a lot of learning which will come along the way, right? And let's wait and watch.
Perfect. So I think the aspects that you talk about, the intricate aspects in digital lending, like hiring the collection guy first and understanding the landscape before building a model, those things are things that will come with experience. And from what I understand, digital lending as of now, people are going in for the novelty of it. And once that phase is completely hit, that piece, the honeymoon period as you call it, gets over, that is when jo actual digital lending ka the main business models, the right kind of business models, sustainable ones, will come out. Otherwise, we'll see more and more things like the Chinese scams that happened and all of that. What is
Absolutely.
your view?
Yeah, absolutely. I think see, money will never come back digitally, right? You can put out a table and you can distribute all the money you want in life, right? But when it comes to repayments, it's not going to be the same, right? Because in the pandemic also you've seen, right? Every lender has stopped literally for 4 or 5 months. They've barely started off and reached the same levels even after 12 months, right? The NPAs, the moratoriums are still kind of a question mark, right? We are still waiting for the right numbers, right? We have been procrastinating for some time. So I think it's a real business, right? We are talking about real money, right? And consolidations, will happen. The blue-eyed boys of lending 4 years back are not the same, right?
True.
And probably the future also will be similar. So I think it needs to be a digital lending with a physical presence, right? And along the way, you need to keep changing the gears as we approach.
Got it. So I think there's something that I've noticed in the digital lending industry, and I'm pretty sure आपने भी notice किया होगा since you interact with a lot of startups, right? When you talk to a founder कि what is your stage in digital lending, वाले बंदे को आप पूछते हो कि आप क्या कर रहे हो या आप कहाँ पे हो, वो बोलेगा यार मेरा 100 करोड़ का लोन बुक है, मेरा 200 करोड़ का लोन बुक है. They price themselves on the size of the loan book. I think which is a very wrong metric to pride yourself in. You should probably, there should be a metric on the collection side कि यार इतना पैसा मैं लेके आ पा रहा हूँ. Like this is my collection rate. I'm able to successfully able to recollect this much money. Like are you aware of any that kind of a metric that can be used? कि that should be the standard कि यार आप इस ये metric से बात करो तो it makes sense for a digital lending founder.
So absolutely, you're bang on, right? Everybody talks about that. What is the top line number I have disbursed, right? What is the AUM? If you go slightly deeper, they will talk about AUM. You will see that the AUM is less than half.
Right.
And eventually nobody talks about collections, right? If they talk about collections also in the greener patch, everybody will talk about a consolidated numbers, right? And which is about if you are disbursing anywhere from 140% and upwards of last month, even if your NPAs are upwards of 5%, it will never show up and you will always be current, right? So
Right.
people show consolidated, but I think the trend has started where lenders are started looking cohort level, right? Lenders have started looking at numbers of how they are progressing. But I think in last 6 months, again, it is pre-pandemic and post-pandemic which is coming, right? So people want, people or startup founders want the investors to forget the pre-COVID numbers, right? And so I think that's not a great trend, right? And I think one more thing is that what is changed for good is no more people say that lending is a feature, right? Which used to be the case earlier, right? Lending is no more a feature. It is a serious business, and lending is most times going to be your revenue mechanism, because everything else looks to be free right now as we talking, right? You have a zero brokerage account, you have a free food on a BNPL product, you have I mean everything free, right? Free car for a 15-day, anything and everything is free.
True.
But if Shreyas, you go and ask, give me a loan free, right? Actually BNPL is also free for 15 days, so called.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, but eventually you will have to pay, right? And that is the time people don't say that give me a free loan. They would typically say that give me a loan at a lesser rate. So I think a lot of things are happening in parallel, but it will start consolidating, shaping up for good.
Definitely. I have also seen this trend wherein you see all these new fintech models coming up. यार हम लोग what do you say invoicing platform बना रहे हैं SMEs के लिए, हम लोग startups के लिए ये बना रहे हैं, but ultimate goal is data collect करके lending पे because पैसा वहीं पे है. So when lending is ultimately the main revenue generating piece for all these business models, Where do you think the main pain point right now? आप किसी को भी पूछोगे startup में, I'm pretty sure you've heard this. Collections के हर किसी के वांदे होते हैं. Either it's on e-natch या फिर they have these old school people going door to door for collections. But have you seen anything interesting happening on the collection side that could probably revolutionize digital lending? Because आप बाकी पूरी जर्नी revolutionize कर दो, अगर डिजिटाइज भी कर दिया पूरा अपने ऑनबोर्डिंग से लेकर के डिसबर्समेंट पर, अगर बंदे का रीपेमेंट का प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है, दैट इज व्हेन यू नीड अ स्ट्रांग कलेक्शन पीस. हाउ डज दैट टाई इन विद द एंटायर डिजिटल लेंडिंग?
One is that we see the old school way or the traditional way, right? Traditional lending used to be underwriting somebody saying, okay, how much will he be able to pay end of the month after his expenses, right? And that number, whatever you arrive at after giving discounts and everything, right, you multiply that number with the number of months you used to give the loan for, right? So a standard 36 month used to be the loan for a unsecured lending and about 15 years for a secured lending, right? Now with the 36-month loan, you are taking an exposure which is 36 times, right? And you are touching base with the customer just once in a month, which is typically the traditional way कि भाई income तब आएगी तब आप उसका लोन निकालोगे, repayment लोगे, right? Now in last 1.5-2 years, at least the time where I have built these products and things, I think I try to really cut short of my exposure, right? So giving a 36-month loan or probably a 5 lakh rupee loan to 100 people, rather than that I would use that giving a 50,000 rupee loan to more people. So it's not about giving more loan amount to less people, but it's about giving less loan amount to more people. And once you start that traction, right, your exposure cuts down to less than half or even one fifth, right? Because instead of a 36-month loan, if I'm giving him a 6-month loan or a 3-month loan, and instead of one EMI per month, I'm taking a daily EMI or a weekly EMI, right? I'm connecting with that guy much, much better, right? Second is that I have seen that lot of new fintechs keep saying that I've built X scorecard, that scorecard, and AI/ML model and proprietary algorithm, right? Proprietary algorithm is a cover up for either you have a 5-level code or a 500,000 code, right? That AI/ML, it's just proprietary, right? When you do not have so much of data, right? How would you build from additional data? So I think now we are in a process where the data is getting accumulated, right? So with only 2-3 themes, you can't really underwrite that guy. So you have to push the collections in the right way and make your exposure in a limited fashion. So if I am disbursing 100 rupees of loan, 85 rupees will come back, which is standard, right? Or typically a 80-20 kind of thing, 80% will come back. But what makes a difference to build a lending company is about that remaining 20%, right? That is where everybody falters. That is where everybody, executes differently. And the NPA, you would never see an NPA crossing, unless until the guys have really screwed it up, right? You will never see it crossing 20%. Reason being that how are you maintaining that 20%? तो 80% तो पैसा वापस आ जाएगा, लेकिन remaining 20% के लिए are you starting collection efforts after the first EMI? That first EMI is after 30 days, that first EMI is after 2 days, that first EMI is after 1 week, right? So how fast are you getting the fire on, right? And how fast people I have come across who have got NPA of like 12% and 13%, they have started waking up only after 5%. Right? When they see that 5% NPA ho gaya, only then they start waking up. So if you start waking up and getting your things in place right at 1.5%, right, that is where you would be able to control your NPAs to 2-3% or 4% max, right? And that is probably the trick of the trade, right, where not many people understand. 3 years back, I had interacted with founders where they mentioned, that we believe only in digital. We won't have a physical collections team. When their NPAs touched double digit, right, everybody got into the physical collections team, right? So that's how probably you need to build your collections team and your
Yeah.
collections focus. It's a business of collections and risk. It's not of distribution of money. So I think it'll
Definitely.
still take some time.
Correct. Pratekk, that was so good to hear. I mean, I have we have spoken to quite a lot of people from digital lending, but this gave me a whole new perspective. Which brings me to, I think, the last question that you said you have been investing in startups, and listening to you really intrigues me on knowing what is more interesting for a startup who's looking for investment, to go to an investment banking guy, or to have someone who's actually executed it for years now?
So I think, see, let's be practical, right? When I started advising, right, uh, I had founders saying that, सर एडवाइस तो बहुत मिल जाती है, राइट, मुझे पैसा चाहिए, राइट. So they don't know what they need first, right? And every entrepreneur thinks that he is the best father for his baby, right? And startup founders are typically fathers for their startups, right? And that is something which I learned the hard way and my way, right? Where I understood that, yeah, if you keep giving advice, right, until unless the founder is convinced that he needs an advice, it's no point giving him any advice, right? You will just be talking, but he will not execute anything, right? So I think one thing which I learned is that never give an advice until unless he asks for it, or probably he needs it. And that will come not with a founder who is building a 0 to 1, but with a founder who's building a 1 to 5. He's done that 5, and now he's in that space where he understands that if I need to take from 5 to 500, right, I need different skills, I need different network, I need different thought process, right? And he needs to be happy to learn from the ecosystem, or get right people who can speed up the journey, right? Because founders are differently made, right? Many founders are innovative or creative, but not executionist, and hence they will reach certain level, but they will become stagnant, right? So I think you need to keep shifting gears. And first important thing for any founder is money. If you give them money, then he will think about the next piece, which is dumb money or smart money. So पहला तो पैसा चाहिए. अगर पहले पैसा commitment हो गया, then probably the two things will come. Where is it dumb money, where I'm not getting any advice, I'm not getting network, I'm not getting references, but I'm only getting money. So he will choose the guy who will give money as well as the network, right? And once he has built and seen the value of that network and the scale up which he can do, right, probably with that smart money, right, then he will start looking for more backers. Then he will start looking for more advisors slash operators slash business guys, somebody where they come with an experience, right? So your go-to-market strategy is reduced from almost 12 months to less than 3 months. Why? Because somebody has already done that, right? And if you believe in somebody, if you take right advice, right, you are cutting down your go-to-market, right? And that's where I think now it's if you see, and before we started the podcast, I was discussing with Sagarika, what is really important now is providing an ecosystem, right? If you have a brilliant product, if you are a good founder who understands what he's building and is passionate, right, has a scalable product, money will follow, money will come. You will have investors lining up, right? However, then you would look at an ecosystem where you don't only get access to capital, but you get access to capital plus advisory plus network, right, which can help you grow multi-x in the same span of time. And I think things are changing now, right? It's not that you can show a 5-year plan to profitability. Now everybody wants a hockey stick growth, right? And this can come in only when you have you have all of these things combined with an ecosystem where you get access to your customers, you get access to your finances, you get access to everything, right? And I believe a deadly combination is a founder who has a creative and an innovative mindset, and who's a great storyteller, but has an experienced and an experienced co-founder or an advisor by his side who guides him to build a scalable and sustainable business. I think that's where the community comes in play.
Bilkul. I think that makes sense. This has been a really great session, Prateek. It was really insightful. मजा आ गया. काफी fresh perspectives मिले, especially the digital lending and collections piece was really intriguing. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you here.